All right, man, peace. There's a sentiment that oftentimes people will not know your true value until they no longer have access to what you bring to the table. And that is truly being played out when we see how poorly the Golden State Warriors have played in the absence of one Mr. Steph Curry, who, even after two championships and two regular season MVP awards, is still underappreciated and undervalued. He recently decided to stop into the Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman show to give an update on his health, as well as his prognostications for the upcoming playoffs. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Is the greatest shooter I have ever seen in my life.
The greatest shooter in the history of the game.
Curry has time, 3 seconds.
1 second left.
Is there a man in the house? Oh, he just got crossed over.
Curry, way down top. Bang! Bang!
That regular season game between the Golden State Warriors and the Oklahoma City Thunder back in, I believe it was like February of 2016, that's one of the top 5, maybe top 3 regular season games I can remember ever seeing. Part of me kind of hopes that Kevin Durant leaves the Golden State Warriors just so I can see Curry try to be the player that he was for that regular season, which is one of the top probably 5 regular seasons that I've ever seen a player have in my time watching basketball. When I think of the top regular seasons that a player has had that I can remember, I think of Jordan's 90-91 season, LeBron's 2012-2013 season, Shaq's 99-2000 season, and Steph Curry's 2015-2016 season. Those are the top regular seasons that I can think of just offhand. And of course, I'll give honorable mention to Hakeem's season in 93-94, AI season in 2000-2001, and also KD season in 2013-2014. Those all get honorable mention. But the top regular seasons that I've seen, Jordan's 90-91, Shaq's 99-2000, LeBron's 2012-2013, Steph's 2015-2016. Those are the best regular seasons that I can remember seeing. Curry was so dominant that year. Unfortunately, he got hurt in the playoffs, and we'll never truly know what might have been had he not suffered those injuries, because even with the injuries, he still was very good, but he wasn't transcendent like he was before that. And unfortunately for him, he's been hurt in most of these postseason runs. He wasn't hurt last year, and he was great. But in the 2015 postseason run, for those of you who might have forgotten, people give him a hard time for his performance in the finals in 2015. He really only had one bad game. That's game 2. He was struggling in game 3 until the latter part of the fourth quarter, which woke him up. He should have won the MVP for the 2015 finals, but for whatever reason, the sentiment was to kind of take it away from him. But he was playing stellar basketball in the playoffs in 2015 until he had that horrific crash in, I believe it was game 4 against the Rockets, where thank God he didn't break his neck. He fell on his neck. For those of you who remember.
Oh, what a shot from Curry! Curry, long distance. It's good.
I don't know what I'll be able to honestly say I've hit.
I remember that's when he did those 2 high kicks right up LeBron's ass in last year's finals.
I've hit my ceiling.
Our next guest needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. 2-time NBA MVP, 2-time NBA champion, AP Athlete of the Year, and 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Always a good day when we've got Steph Curry with the shot with us.
When did Steph Curry win 2 Olympic gold medals? Somebody please refresh my memory. Because in 2012, he was not on the Olympic team. And in 2016, he bowed out because of injury and also embarrassment due to giving up that 3-1 lead to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So someone please tell me when he's won 2 gold medals in the Olympics.
Who's also doing great work in the community, teaming up with Brita to provide clean drinking water to schools. Steph live from Oakland today as he announces the launch of the Brita Filter for the Future program. Steph, thanks so much for being with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Steph looked like he's expecting to get ambushed. No problem. Thank you for having me. With your bitch ass.
All right, first things first, you know where we're going, the knee injury. So we're hearing you're going to miss the first round of the playoffs, but when do you expect to be back on the court?
I mean, it's all guesswork at this point, but I know it's at least 3 weeks, so hopefully at that point I'll be able to kind of reassess how the healing process is going and how quickly I can get back to 100% to get back out there on the floor and be with my teammates. So
Supposedly, it's a grade 2 MCL sprain, which is even worse than the sprain that he had in the 2016 playoffs. So I'm not expecting him to be the player that he's been for the majority of the season when he's been healthy. I'm not going to expect that for the rest of this season. Unfortunately, I think that they're going to need him to be somewhere near maximum to get out of the West this year. Presumably, but then again, you never know. The Rockets may flame out. Who the hell knows?
I'm working hard, trying to get out, like I said, back on the court as soon as possible. But right now, you got to be patient. You got to let the healing process happen.
Right. And Aisha, your handler, has to pull you out of the sunken place.
And that's what's going on.
Steph, Stephen A. here. I believe I am talking to the greatest shooter I have ever seen, not to mention one of the nicest superstars I've ever known. Let me ask you a question, though. I'm watching these Golden State Warriors right now and how they look without you.
Now, pay attention. Stephen A. Smith basically gave Steph Curry a couple of platitudes. He truly extolled him. He called him the greatest shooter that he's ever seen, also one of the nicest people that he's come across in the sports world. Steph Curry did not say thank you. He did not nod his head. He still has that stern look. There is something going on with these NBA players and Stephen A. Smith. They do not like him.
And it's despite the fact that I believe you to be the greatest shooter ever, I am very, very concerned at how you guys have been looking without you. How concerned are you about how this team has looked without you?
I don't think that he's very concerned right now. They're building up towards the playoffs. I mentioned this in another video. Sometimes when teams have been as successful as the Warriors have been, even going into the postseason, they need a little contrived challenge. That's very common. If you remember the Lakers from the early 2000s with Shaq and Kobe, they would often bullshit during the regular season to make things tougher for themselves in the playoffs. The Bulls, in their three-peat runs, the third season for both three-peat teams, they did not have home court in the finals. So it was a little bit tougher, and I think that Golden State is going through that right now. They're just trying to create little stumbling blocks for themselves. And, of course, the injuries don't help. One of the issues that Golden State does have, though, is with their big men. Their big men are big, clumsy, and awkward. You had a big man that took out Durant last season. One takes out Curry this season. Steve Kerr is going to have to do a better job of coaching his big men on not flopping so much. They don't need you on the free throw line. They need you upright and in your position so that you're not hurting your own guys.
I'm not concerned at all because it's not just me. We've had a rash of injuries with pretty much all our guys. Myself, I've been out for a long with ankle stuff throughout the course of the season, now the knee, but KD's been out for a bunch of games. Draymond's been out. Clay's still out. So, we're building our momentum to not only just being healthy and getting everybody back on the court, but building that playoff intensity that we know we're going to need to get through this crazy Western Conference.
I will be very interested to see who Golden State's first-round matchup is going to be, because if it's the Spurs or the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially the Spurs, they could be in some trouble.
And try to get back to the finals. So, my team's, we've had an interesting year to say the least, but we're, second in the West, dealing with all these injuries that eventually we're going to get everybody back. So, we know we need to get that playoff intensity and build that momentum, but
they should still be cognizant of the fact that they should pay attention to the Eastern Conference records, because even though they're not going to catch the Rockets, if they can have a better regular season record than anyone else in the East, at least that would ensure them home court in the finals should the Rockets get knocked off early in the playoffs, or should they face the Rockets and defeat them.
But I'm not worried at all right now.
Steph, since you guys got ridiculously great 3 years ago, I haven't seen a team. Even when you lost to the Cavs, I thought the Warriors are going to beat everybody. I don't see a real challenge to them. I was wrong once. But this year, I see a real challenge to you guys. I see Houston. In fact, I'm making Houston the favorites to go all the way this year, and that includes against you guys. Do you see Houston as a different kind of challenge than challenges over the last 3 seasons.
How different a challenge could they be, Max Kellerman? They're only letting 5 men out on the court on their team. It's not like Houston has 7 guys against 5 people for Golden State. Basically, to make a long story short, the Golden State Warriors feel like they're the champions. They're going to feel like that until someone beats them. They're not worried about how Houston does in the regular season. They know that Houston is trying to prove something to themselves. They understand very well the same sentiments that I put forth on this channel, which is that the referendum for the Rockets, particularly their frontline stars, James Harden and Chris Paul, is going to come in the playoffs. Both those players have a penchant, a reputation for flaming out. They have a reputation for coming up small in big spots, as does their coach. I believe that Golden State is aware of that, and they're banking on it.
I mean, they're playing amazing. There's no denying that. And what James has been doing when you're teaming up with CP, and they're first in the West, right? So they've had an amazing regular season.
Did you hear what Steph said? He said they're first in the West, right? In other words, I guess they're the big bad wolf, supposedly.
But as we look forward to the playoffs, we know what we're about. But for us, like, we can't fall into the trap of just worrying about Houston. Like, if you look at all up and down the standings, man, there's tough teams and tough outs all the way, through the rankings. So we understand what it takes for us to be a championship team, the details that we need to focus on, the confidence and togetherness that we need to play with.
One thing about the Houston Rockets is that, at least in my view, they're playing with a playoff level of intensity throughout the regular season. And when you play with that level of intensity, it's difficult to find an even higher level in the playoffs when most of these other teams are going to start playing much harder defense. They're going to be coming out and defending the three-point shooters much better than they were in the regular season. That's why, once again, I want to see what their contingency plan is going to be. Can Mike D'Antoni adjust? Can he provide plan Bs and Cs? There comes a point in the playoffs where great coaches do have to come up with a plan B and or C. It's just how it is. It's always the case. Over the course of a finals run, there will be a point in a playoff series where a coach is going to have to come up with a plan B or C. Steve Kerr had to do that in their finals run in 2015 when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's why they gave the MVP award to Iguodala, even though to me he didn't deserve it. They gave him credit for stopping LeBron. He did a good job on LeBron. But that was a scheduling issue, and a lot of people don't understand this. I mentioned this before. In 2015, there was a one-day break between games 3 and 4, and you could tell that hurt LeBron. In 2016, they adjusted the NBA Finals schedule, and they made it a 2-day gap between all the games, which provided for rest for LeBron. That was essential for him. Because if you remember, there was a 1-day gap, a 2-day gap in between games 4 and 5, which allowed for a big rest for LeBron after the Warriors were able to win game 4. LeBron did not play well in game 4 in 2016. That's when they went down 3-1. And of course, Draymond kicked out his nuts. Or tried to strike him in the nuts, whatever it was. And Draymond got suspended for that game. The Cleveland Cavaliers were able to win that crucial game 5 and then bring it back to Cleveland for game 6. But Adam Silver purposefully made sure that there were 2 days of space between each game in 2016, because I think that he understood that it would add more drama to a series if both teams did not have to worry about rest, especially when and if you had veterans on your team as the main frontline players.
And honestly, we feel like if we can control, or if we do control, we can control and play the way that we expect to play, that nobody can beat us, and that's the confidence we have. So we know it's not going to be tough, and it wasn't tough last year or the year before. It's not going to be, or so it wasn't easy those last 2 years, and it was
bullshit. It wasn't tough last year, Steph. Stop lying. Y'all only lost 1 game in the playoffs. The only time y'all were really tested was that first game against San Antonio.
Freudian slip, Steph. That's confident. That's a good Freudian slip.
we understand what the process is and what it takes to be a champion, no matter who we play. So I like where we are right now, and looking forward to the journey.
Stop lying, Steph. You don't like where you are right now. It's just that where you are right now still provides a sliver of hope. You know that a lot of the issues that you're having are based on lack of health.
Steph, my question is a two-part one. I want to know, number one, how concerned are you about your health as the playoff approaches? And I want your reaction also to what Steve Kerr had to say in terms of saying, even without Steph Curry, we believe we should be able to beat anybody. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he was saying. I'd like your reaction to that.
The reason why Steve Kerr made that statement is because he doesn't want anyone to believe that Steph Curry has a chance of coming back in the first round, and he does not want to put any pressure on Steph Curry to believe that he has to come back in the first round. So, of course, he's not going to come on TV and state, well, we have no chance without Steph. And what are you telling Kevin Durant if you say that? Remember, Kevin Durant can opt out and leave the team. So Steve Kerr has to consider all these things before he makes any proclamations in regards to what he believes the team's chances are based off of Curry being out. He still has to play this game in which he politically tries to maneuver his way through the minefield of whose team is it? Is it Steph's team or Kevin Durant's team? Now, due to the fact that both of these players are in their late 20s, 30 years old in that area, they're past the stage where they're trying to mark their territory in the NBA. It's mostly just about winning right now. But Steve is still cognizant of that. So there's a lot that goes into why he makes those type of statements in the way that he does.
I mean, obviously, I want to be out there and be playing and understand that when I'm out there, we are a better team. But until I'm not, or until I am back on the court, the other guys got to step up and make it happen. And I know I have confidence in their ability to do it. Coach has confidence in their ability to do it. And KD, Draymond, Clay, Andre, Sean, all the other guys are going to play like that. So I'm not worried about that at all. For me, obviously, I'm treating the injury as a blessing in disguise to really get my mind and my body right for when the comeback's going to happen. To, like you said, not rush it. The worst thing I want to do is come back and be playing at 75, 85%, and just to be out there, be playing.
I agree, and you don't really have to do that, especially now that you have KD. So you don't have to rush back in the first round unless you feel fully healthy or healthy enough to be the player that you feel like you can be to do what you expect of yourself. Not with KD on the squad. But that's why, once again, the pressure is on Kevin Durant to be mature and assume at least a similitude, a facsimile of what a leader's supposed to be. That means you have to keep it together. If you're a general and you're leading your army in a battle, they can't see you lose your composure, man. KD does not understand that. He doesn't grasp that.
I really got to take my time with it. And I think there's enough time leading up to the playoffs where I can make that happen and get back onto the court playing like I want to.
ESPN.com had a recent list out a couple days ago, top 10, and you made the top 10 most influential basketball players who ever lived. And you certainly reinvented the modern point guard shooting from half court, and that being a shot, not a desperation shot, with the handles, the whole thing. But now a lot of other guys are starting to approximate what you do. What do you think when you see them play like you?
He's thinking that there's only one. There's only one original. There's a lot of copies, but there's only one original. Jordan went through this back in the mid-90s, where there were a bevy of players that came into the league that I won't say tried to mimic his style, but who the media were anointing as the next Michael Jordan. Some of them were better than others. Unfortunately, most of them got hurt. And until Kobe Bryant came into the NBA in the late 90s, he was the only one who was truly able to fulfill that quote-unquote prophecy of being the next Michael Jordan to a degree in regards to a player in that mold who tried to assume that style of play and also was able to embody many of the idiosyncratic aspects of Michael Jordan's persona, the competitiveness, the drive, the cutthroat nature. It's just that Bryant was kind of a cartoonish version of Michael Jordan. He had far less nuance than Michael Jordan. Michael knew how to turn it on and off. Kobe didn't know how to do that on the basketball court. Jordan's understanding of the game was far higher than Kobe's, which is why his proficiency was so much higher than Kobe Bryant's. In regards to Steph, there are players in the NBA that try to mimic his style. You have a Damian Lillard. You have many others, Kemba Walker, who try to mimic the Steph Curry style of play. But Steph is the one who does it at the most proficient level. For what he does, there's really nobody else that can match him for what he does.
I mean, everybody is different, but I think the fact that the way that I've catered to my strengths as a basketball player and use a three-point threat and my handle as a way for me to be a playmaker on this level and be great at it. Hopefully that inspires the next generation to work on their game, to try to emulate those type of things, but to do it in their own way.
Absolutely. You take what the person who inspired you could do, and then you put your own little spin on it, your own little flair. That's how humanity works. You learn from the previous generation. It's not necessarily stealing, unless you're Kobe Bryant, who just totally steals from Michael Jordan and adds nothing new. Oh boy, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. To all the Kobe Bryant super fans out there, the fanboys, I'm just playing. I know right now you have on all 3 jerseys of Kobe Bryant's, laying in your bed, with your laptop open, looking at Kobe Bryant's greatest dunks. You did with your Kobe jersey on and no drawers on, just curled up like a little girl watching his highlights, and you're getting mad right now because of what I said. I'm just playing.
There's everybody wants to compare a player to another player, or, the up-and-coming guy, who does he play like in the league and all that type of stuff. That's all fun. That's great for conversation, but everybody is unique and everybody has something to offer to this game. And,
For sure.
And for me, I'm able to do it, and that's something for me that
Steph.
I'm proud about for sure.
And you should be, brother. Unfortunately, they won't let you finish half your damn answers. I don't understand how they have you on the show to be interviewed. They keep cutting you off. But you should be proud of it, because at the end of the day, I damn sure did not think you were going to be as good as you became in the NBA. And, outside of Jordan, I can't think of another player that I've enjoyed watch play at his peak than Steph Curry. I mean, just as far as just enjoyment of watching him play when he does his thing, when he's hot. Now, he just has too many games where, for whatever reason, his microchip is turned off. And that is very annoying when he has that look, and you could tell he has that glazed look in his eyes. He's not focused. He makes a lot of bad decisions. But when he's on and when he's sharp, oh, man.
Steph, I'm hearing you got a very busy schedule, but I got to get this in. Switching gears for a second, I'm a big fan of Britta. We use it at my house, but tell us about your work with them.
It's great to hear that, but I understand how right now being able to partner with Britta on the Filter for the Future campaign to help school systems that are dealing with water contamination reduce their necessity on bottled water. And so $1 of every filter, long last Brita or pitcher that's sold, $1 of that purchase is going to go towards committing some Brita hydration stations to schools all around the country.
Steph, I'm being told
to give their students clean water source.
I hate to cut you off, but I'm being told we have to let you go right this second.
Yeah, I've been cutting him off the whole damn interview. Every question he gets cut off.
Because you're very busy. Thank you so much. You're literally changing the game at every.
He look like he want to laugh. He like, shit, I can't even get the interview out. I thought I was here to answer questions. I'm just here listening to y'all talk shit.
Every level and every way. We're rooting for you.
But anyway, good for Steph Curry. Hopefully he's healthy for the playoffs so that they can make another title run. I would love to see Golden State against Boston in the finals, and if we can get a healthy Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving and all hands on deck, I think that would be a phenomenal series. I think that would go 7. But anyway, peace.